You're lying face down on a concrete floor, blood on your lips. A group of boys just threw you down a flight of stairs for fun, and by the time you wake up, you're in a hospital bed. Your name is Elon Musk. And right now, at 12 years old, you are the least impressive guy in any room you walk into. But inside your head, a different life is already playing out, one with rockets, computers, and a future nobody else can see yet. You don't know it yet, but one day you'll risk your entire fortune, twice, on 2 different organizations, in the same year, just to keep that vision alive. Level 1. The boy in the corner. You're 12, living in Pretoria, South Africa. Your parents split a few years ago. At first, you stayed with your mother. But then you looked at your father, saw him living alone, and made a decision. You packed your things and moved in with him. You thought he needed you. The house is big, quiet. Most days, it doesn't feel like home. You try talking to your father, but the conversations never last. He doesn't understand why you spend hours reading instead of playing outside. When he's around, the house feels tense. When he isn't, it feels empty. You spend more and more time alone in your room. At school, it's not any better. You're the smallest kid. The weird one. The one who corrects teachers when they get facts wrong. They hate it. One afternoon, a group of boys corners you on the concrete stairs. They beat you until you can't stand. You spend a week in the hospital. Your father doesn't visit. You go back to the same school. Nothing changes, except you disappear deeper. Books slowly replace people's. You don't just read them. Sometimes you find yourself building the ideas in your head. A page about rockets turns into moving parts you can almost take apart without touching them. At the time, you think everyone's mind works like this. It doesn't. Every evening, after homework, you sit in front of your computer and write code. Before long, you've built a simple space shooter game called Blaster. It's a mess of pixels, but it works. You sell it to a computer magazine for $500. You frame the check. You don't cash it, because the money isn't the point. A stranger, an adult, paid you for something you built alone in your room while the world outside made it clear they didn't want you there. Level 2. A new country. You're 17. South Africa doesn't feel like a place where your future exists anymore. Mandatory military service is approaching, and you have no interest in serving under apartheid. Your mother was born in Canada, so you start filling out paperwork, waiting months for approval, hoping it leads somewhere better. Eventually, it does. You land in Canada with a suitcase, a Canadian passport, and no real plan beyond one simple idea: keep moving forward. Life isn't glamorous. You take whatever work you can find. 1 week, you're cleaning offices. Another, you're shoveling grain out of storage bins. The work is exhausting. The pay isn't great, but every paycheck buys you 1 more week to stay. At the same time, you're trying to build an education. During the day, you're studying. After class, you're working. Most people your age are thinking about parties and weekends. You're thinking about rent, tuition, and what comes next. The internet is still new. Most people have never used it. Businesses certainly haven't. But every time you sit in front of a computer, you feel like you're looking at the beginning of something everyone else is about to miss. You keep talking about it with your brother, Kimball. The conversations always end the same way. If this is where the world is going, why are you waiting for someone else to build it? The two of you make a plan that you'll build a company together, not because you have experience or investors, simply because you believe one day every business will need to exist on the internet. Level 3. Building Zip2, an online directory. You're 24. The internet is growing fast. More people are getting online every month, but local businesses are still invisible. If someone wants to find a nearby restaurant, a dentist, or a repair shop, they open a phone book or a newspaper. The internet can't help them because the information simply isn't there. You think that's about to change. Together with your brother Kimball, you come up with an idea. What if businesses could appear online, just like they appear in a phone book? People could search for nearby stores, see directions, and find information in seconds instead of flipping through pages. You name the company Zip2. The idea sounds obvious today. In 1995, it isn't. Most business owners don't even think they need a website. They can't see why anyone would search for them on a computer. Convincing them is almost as difficult as building the product itself. So you split the work. Every morning, Kimball walks from business to business trying to find customers. Most meetings end with a no. While he's knocking on doors, you stay in the office writing code, fixing bugs, and adding new features before the next customer walks in. Money disappears faster than it comes in. To save every dollar, you sleep on the office floor. You shower at a nearby YMCA. The computer you're programming on during the day sits a few feet away while you sleep at night. Every morning, you wake up, make another round of changes, and hope today is the day someone says yes. Slowly, they do. A handful of businesses sign up, then newspapers begin paying attention. Instead of only listing businesses, Zip2 starts helping newspaper companies create online city guides, bringing maps, business listings, and local information onto the internet. The product grows because the internet itself is growing. Investors begin to notice. Fresh funding gives Zip2 something it has never really had before: time. You hire employees, move into a proper office, and keep improving the software. The small idea you and Kimball sketched out is turning into a real company. 4 years after you started, Compaq offers to buy Zip2 for about $307 million. The deal goes through, leaving you with roughly $22 million after taxes. At just 27 years old, you've made more money than you ever imagined as a kid sitting alone in your room writing code. But you don't see it as a finish line. To you, it's something else, a chance to build something even bigger. If you were Elon at 27 years of age, what would you have done with $22 million? Let me know in the comments. Level 4. Accidentally co-founding PayPal. You're 27. Selling Zip2 leaves you with roughly $22 million after taxes. For the first time in your life, you have enough money to do almost anything. You could do anything with it. You don't even consider it. Instead, you keep thinking about the internet. Finding information online is getting easier day by day. Buying things online is slowly becoming normal, but moving money still feels stuck in another era. Opening a bank account means paperwork. Sending money takes days. Every transaction depends on banks built for a world before the internet. You think that has to change, so you decide to build an online bank, not a website for an existing bank. A completely new one. You call it X.com. The name isn't random. To you, the letter X represents the unknown. You don't want to build a company that only transfers money. You want one place where people can save, spend, invest, borrow, and manage every part of their financial life. It's an idea far bigger than online payments. This time, you aren't trying to convince investors first. You believe in the idea enough to risk your own fortune. Nearly $12 million from the money you made at Zip2 goes straight into X.com. It takes years to earn that money, and only a few months to put most of it back on the table. The challenge isn't building the software, it's convincing people to trust it. In 1999, asking someone to store their savings on a website sounds almost ridiculous. People worry about hackers. They worry about scams. Most of them still trust the bank branch down the street more than a computer screen, so you give them a reason to try. New customers receive cash just for opening an account. If they invite someone else, they earn even more. The strategy is expensive, but it works. Every new customer brings another. The numbers begin climbing faster than anyone expected. For a while, it feels like you're winning. Then another company starts growing just as fast. It's called Confinity. They're solving a similar problem, but from a different direction. Instead of building an online bank, they're making it easy for people to send money to each other over the internet. As both companies race to sign up customers, the competition becomes more expensive every month. You're both spending millions trying to outrun each other, and neither side shows any sign of slowing down. Soon, one question starts hanging over both companies. Is it smarter to keep fighting or build something together? The answer comes sooner than anyone expects. Instead of burning millions trying to beat each other, X.com and Confinity decide to merge. On paper, it solves the biggest problem both companies face. Together, they have more customers, more engineers, and a better chance of surviving the race to dominate online payments. The merger closes. Bringing two companies together turns out to be easier on paper, but getting two cultures to work together is a task that looks impossible to handle. Inside the company, disagreements start almost immediately. Some people believe the future is online banking, just as you imagined when you started X.com. Others believe one product is growing faster than everything else, sending money instantly over the internet. Even the technology becomes a battlefield. You want the company to run on Microsoft software. Many of the engineers strongly disagree. Every major decision turns into another debate. The company keeps growing, but so does the tension. So you decide to leave for a break. It should be the first real break you've taken in years. Instead, while you're away, the board of directors holds a meeting without you. They vote to remove you as CEO and replace you with someone else. By the time you return, your own company has a new leader. You fight to keep your position, but the decision stands. Most founders would have walked away. You don't. You stay on as the company's largest shareholder and keep believing its biggest opportunity hasn't arrived yet. Over the next 2 years, that belief pays off. Customers begin using one product far more than anything else. It isn't online banking. It's a simple way to send money over the internet. eBay buyers and sellers adopt it so quickly that it becomes the easiest way for strangers to pay each other online. The company decides to focus completely on that product. Its name is PayPal. Growth accelerates. Millions of people sign up. What began as two competing startups fighting over customers has become the world's leading online payment platform. In 2002, eBay offers to buy PayPal for $1.6 billion. The deal goes through, and your 11.7% stake is worth about $180 million before taxes. You've already built and sold two successful companies, and you now have enough money to spend the rest of your life doing absolutely nothing. Most entrepreneurs would finally slow down. You do the exact opposite. Instead of protecting your fortune, you begin looking at three industries almost everyone else believes are too expensive, too risky, and too difficult to change: space, transportation, and energy. Level 5. Betting everything again. You're 31. The year is 2002. Selling PayPal leaves you with enough money to spend the rest of your life in comfort. Most entrepreneurs would protect that fortune. You've spent years building it. Now you finally have the chance to enjoy it. Instead, you decide to risk almost all of it, not on one company. 3. Each one solves a different problem you've become obsessed with: space, transportation, energy. Friends tell you to pick one. Investors tell you to play it safe. You ignore all of them. The first problem keeps pulling you back to space. Every time you look at the industry, it feels frozen in time. Rockets cost hundreds of millions of dollars to launch. Only governments and massive aerospace companies can afford to build them. Everyone accepts that's just how it works. You don't. You start reading again. Just like you did as a kid, books become your classroom. This time, they're filled with rocket engines, propulsion systems, orbital mechanics, fuel mixtures, and aerospace engineering. Page by page, you begin teaching yourself an industry you've never worked in before. The more you learn, the more one question bothers you. Why are rockets so expensive? Looking for answers, you travel to Russia, hoping to buy refurbished rockets for a mission to Mars. The meetings don't go the way you expected. The prices are far higher than you're willing to pay. You leave without buying a single rocket. On the flight home, you keep thinking about the numbers. The raw materials that make up a rocket cost only a small fraction of its final price. Somewhere between the metal and the launch pad, the cost explodes. Maybe the problem isn't physics. Maybe it's the way the industry works. That realization changes everything. Instead of buying rockets, you decide to build them yourself. In 2002, you found SpaceX. Almost immediately, millions of dollars from your PayPal fortune begin flowing into a company that has no successful launches, no proven rockets, and no guarantee it will ever leave the ground. While SpaceX is demanding more money every month, another industry keeps pulling at your attention. Gasoline cars dominate the roads, but you don't think they'll dominate forever. The problem isn't that electric cars are impossible. The problem is that nobody has built one people actually want to drive. So you start learning. Once again, books cover your desk. This time they're about lithium-ion batteries, electric motors, manufacturing, and energy storage. You spend hours reading technical papers, asking engineers questions, and trying to understand why electric cars have always failed. The deeper you go, the more convinced you become that the technology is finally ready. Around the same time, a small startup called Tesla Motors is trying to prove the same thing. You aren't the founder, but you believe in the mission enough to become its largest investor and chairman. Before long, you're spending as much time solving Tesla's problems as your own. Then another question appears. Even if every car becomes electric, where will the electricity come from? If it's still generated by burning fossil fuels, you've only solved half the problem. Your cousins, Lyndon and Peter Reeve, approach you with an idea for a solar energy company. You immediately see how it fits the bigger picture. Clean energy can power electric cars, and together they can reduce the world's dependence on fossil fuels. You help finance the company. It becomes Solar City. Now you're leading or backing three companies at the same time. One is trying to reach space, one is trying to reinvent transportation, one is trying to change how the world produces electricity. Individually, each one would be considered one of the riskiest startups in America. You're trying to build all three. The money you've earned from PayPal starts disappearing almost as quickly as it arrived. SpaceX has no successful launches. Tesla isn't making profits. Solar City is still years away from proving its business. Every company needs more engineers, more factories, more testing, and more cash. Month after month, millions of dollars leave your bank account. Very little comes back. People begin questioning your decisions. Investors think you're spreading yourself too thin. Friends quietly wonder if you've made the biggest mistake of your career. By 2008, most of your PayPal fortune is gone. The companies you've bet everything on still haven't proven they can survive. For the first time since leaving South Africa, it feels like you could lose everything. Level 6. One last chance. You're 37. The year is 2008. A few years ago, you had around $180 million from PayPal. Now it's almost gone. The money has disappeared into rockets that won't reach orbit, electric cars that barely sell, and a solar company still trying to prove itself. Every month brings another payroll, another bill, another problem. Instead of building one startup, you're trying to keep three alive at the same time. Something has to work. So far, nothing has. SpaceX is taking the hardest hits. Building a rocket turns out to be far more difficult than reading about one. Years of engineering lead to the first launch of Falcon 1 in 2006. The countdown reaches 0. The rocket lifts off. Less than a minute later, it catches fire. The mission ends in failure. You gather the data, fix what went wrong, and try again. A year later, Falcon 1 leaves the launch pad for the second time. This time, it flies higher. Then another problem appears. The rocket begins spinning out of control before reaching orbit. Another failure. You go back to work. Months later, Falcon 1 launches for the third time. For a few moments, it looks different. Then the first stage doesn't separate properly from the second. The mission is over. 3 launches, 3 failures. By now, critics are calling SpaceX a joke. Newspapers begin asking how much longer the company can survive. Investors stop believing. The money you've spent building rockets has almost run out. The fourth launch isn't just another attempt, it's the last one you can afford. At the same time, Tesla is running out of money too. Production delays keep piling up. Costs rise faster than expected. Every car takes longer and costs more to build than planned. The company is burning through cash, and employees know it. Some wonder if they'll still have jobs by the end of the year. The pressure follows you everywhere. During the day, you're solving problems at SpaceX. Then you fly to Tesla and solve another set of problems. You barely sleep. Every decision feels like it could decide whether one company survives or both disappear. Then, September 28, 2008 arrives. Falcon 1 stands on the launch pad for the 4th time. There isn't much left to lose. The engines ignite. The rocket climbs higher than any of the previous attempts. Stage separation works. The second stage continues burning. Minutes later, Falcon 1 reaches orbit. For the first time in history, a privately developed liquid-fueled rocket has successfully reached Earth's orbit. Everything changes. The success restores confidence in SpaceX. Not long afterward, NASA awards the company a contract worth $1.6 billion to deliver cargo to the International Space Station. The company that was weeks away from running out of money suddenly has a future again. Tesla begins finding its footing as well. The Roadster proves that an electric car can be fast, practical, and desirable. New investment keeps the company alive long enough to continue building. For the first time in years, the pressure begins to lift. But solving today's problems only gives you room to think about tomorrow's. Your attention starts drifting towards something else. Not Earth, Mars. Now your personal net worth stands at roughly $20 million. What do you think? Did Elon make the right move while putting his emotions at bay and solely focus on the company and the product? Comment yes or no. Level 7, Building the Future with Artificial Intelligence. You're 42. The year is 2013. Falcon 1 reaches orbit. SpaceX survives. Tesla survives. After years of wondering if your companies would run out of money before they ran out of ideas, you finally have something they never had before. Time. SpaceX goes back to work almost immediately. Reaching orbit was never the real goal. Every rocket that reaches space is destroyed after a single mission, making every launch incredibly expensive. You don't think space travel can become common if a brand new rocket has to be built every time. The solution seems simple in your head. Launch the rocket, bring it back, use it again. Turning that idea into reality takes years of testing. Prototype after prototype explodes, crashes, or misses the landing. Each failure changes the next design. In 2015, one finally lands upright. For the first time, a rocket booster returns from space, ready to fly again. SpaceX isn't just reaching orbit anymore, it's changing the cost of getting there. While SpaceX is rebuilding rockets, another problem keeps demanding your attention. Electric cars can no longer be experiments. They have to become something families actually want to own. Tesla moves beyond small production numbers and begins building cars for everyday drivers. The Model S proves an electric car can compete with luxury sedans. Then comes the Model 3, built for a much larger market. New factories rise, production keeps increasing, and Tesla slowly transforms from a startup into a global car company. The more time you spend building these companies, the more another question starts following you. Artificial intelligence keeps improving. Every year, computers become better at understanding language, recognizing images, and solving problems that once belonged only to humans. You don't know exactly where that progress will lead, but you believe it deserves careful development from the very beginning. In 2015, you helped create OpenAI to push artificial intelligence forward while keeping its long-term impact in mind. That question leads to another. If computers continue becoming more capable, how do humans keep up? You begin working on Neuralink. The goal is to build technology that connects the human brain directly to computers, first to help people living with severe neurological conditions, and eventually to explore entirely new ways for humans and machines to interact. Not every problem exists in the future. Some appear every morning on the drive to work. Traffic keeps getting worse as cities grow, but there isn't much room left to build wider roads. Instead of expanding above ground, you start wondering what happens if transportation moves below it. That idea becomes the Boring Company, built to dig tunnels that could carry people beneath crowded streets. By now, your days no longer belong to one company. You're building reusable rockets, electric cars, artificial intelligence, brain-computer interfaces, and underground transportation, all at the same time. They're different companies, but to you, they're all solving the same problem. How do you build a better future? Level 8, the legacy. You're in your 50s. The year is 2021. The companies you once fought to keep alive continue growing. Tesla becomes one of the world's most valuable companies. SpaceX launches rockets on a regular basis. Starlink connects millions of people around the world, and work continues on Starship, artificial intelligence, and humanoid robots. As the value of your companies grow, so does your own fortune. Years after risking almost everything you earned from PayPal, you become the richest person in the world. The boy who once sold a computer game for $500 now leads companies worth trillions of dollars combined, employing hundreds of thousands of people and building technology that reaches billions more. From a lonely room in Pretoria to changing transportation, space exploration, communication, and artificial intelligence. Your story isn't defined by the money you made. It's defined by what you chose to build with it. So here's my question for you. What's the impossible idea you've quietly given up on, and what would happen if you gave it one more shot right now, today? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed living this journey of building an empire from nothing, subscribe for more. There's another billionaire's rise waiting to be told.